I want to know what the hell is going on.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Did we get everybody?
I clapped.
We didn't leave anybody behind at the clap station?
No.
We should always leave
good.
people behind at the clap station. Let's just...
All aboard the clap train.
I do not want to board the clap train. Thank you.
So you're saying when you give them the clap, you have to leave them behind, let them fend for themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, as
That's
long
what
as
I'm
they're
saying.
informed.
What's wrong with you?
So welcome to Screen Share and Chill. My name is Kelley.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
And today we are reviewing Jamie's new series,
What did we
Pick
watch?
of
Yes.
Mummy.
The Mummy?
The Mummy.
I don't remember this at all. You guys are going to have to carry me through and with my notes.
Has it been too long already?
Jamie, tell us a little bit about why did you pick The Mummy?
I picked The Mummy because I think it is a very fun and nice way to like waste a couple hours, enjoy yourself. And it is a series, and the series can be very fun to talk about as we continue forward because it's going to get very weird.
You say waste a couple hours of your life as if we're not going to dedicate the next month of our lives to the Mummy franchise.
Look, it's only 1 month and not like 3 this time.
Oh, just sit down with some friends for a month.
I've already been
Right,
seeing the
just a little-
memes creep in, so...
Of course.
It's like it knows.
It's just a
The
matter of
universe
time.
knows.
Right?
Yeah, I'm still getting Lord of the Rings memes every other
Residuals,
post.
yeah.
Yeah, which is fun. It's still fun, but I'm still like, God damn it, Gandalf, stay the fuck away from me. Don't you understand what a restraining order is? All right, so tell us, like, who's got the numbers? How did Mummy do, like,
I have the
financially?
numbers
Was it a
right here.
success?
It was the #1 film in the United States and Canada on its opening weekend, grossing $43 million. And
Ooh, what did it go up against?
it fell to second place behind The Phantom Menace. So it came out pretty much against.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. But it has.
Nicely done, Mummy.
Right?
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Like Phantom Menace was nothing to. That was a huge event. That was a global event when Phantom Menace came out. So
Yeah, it was like
good job.
waiting in line days before it was released and all that stuff. Absolutely. And it has grossed $418.1 million worldwide so far.
So the big question is, which is the better movie, Phantom Menace or The Mummy?
The Mummy.
Oof. Oof.
The Mummy.
Even I'm not wanting to dive into that. Phantom Menace is one of the weakest Star Wars movies.
Oh, I don't know. I really liked Phantom.
I know,
But,
because you have terrible
yeah.
taste in Star Wars movies.
Yeah, your Star Wars taste is like polar opposite of everybody else.
The pod race. No, I'll have you know that Phantom Menace has been vindicated over the years, and nowadays it's very warmly looked at by Star Wars fans and non-Star Wars fans alike. Thank you very much.
Just
But
because,
that's not what we're talking
just
about.
It's
because
still
memes
not-
come from it. People
Right.
like it because they recognize memes. That's it.
And it's still
No, the pod
considered
racing
one
is
of
so
the
much fun.
It is. Pod racing is fun. I'm not going to disparage Star
And that
Wars
last
too hard.
duel, the Duel of the Fates with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, that was fucking incredible.
Yep.
Seeing Queen Padme like stand up for her people and lead the
Yes.
troops. Oh,
Yes.
so many good parts in that
You have
movie.
described the two good parts of the movie. Yes.
Yep.
I just named 3, I'll have you know.
Also-
And unfortunately, it also had Jar Jar. But
But here's the thing is that you have to, every series has to have a low point. Everyone does. Even if the low point is still higher
Oh,
than
it
most
did.
movies.
Yeah. The next one is
Yeah.
the real.
Yeah, that's true.
Attack of the Bullshit, that was the one that was bad in that one. Anyway, so we're not talking about that, but it is interesting that they did end up moving. From what I read, they moved the release for The Mummy so they would specifically avoid coming out the same weekend
Right.
as Phantom Menace, which smart.
Yeah.
You don't
Very
release on
smart.
GTA, you don't release on Star Wars Day,
Right.
like
Yeah.
And you don't mess around with Jim.
Or Slim.
I did
song.
also notice in some of the notes that they were thinking about developing this movie as a like reminiscent of the Terminator, where the mummy would just be indestructible and constantly coming at the people throughout the whole movie. And
Oh,
I
cool.
thought that was
They should have done that. That would have been a good
yeah.
movie.
It ended up pretty well. This one too, which we'll get to that. But
But they already had that in the Terminator, so if you did that, then everybody would just be like, why would you make this? This is just Terminator.
yeah, I mean, it seems to be a pretty good formula. I think we've commented before about a few movies that had the Terminator-like story. I mean, if you look at it, like, what is Halloween if not a Terminator-type clone, or
Exactly.
maybe the vice
Except
versa?
for that
It's the
Halloween came out first.
Yeah, the progenitor. Yeah, but Terminator is 100% a Halloween clone.
that slow plotting bad guy that it's not going to chase you down, but it's also never going to stop, and you can't fucking stop it. You can't kill it. That's scary. So
It Follows is just the Terminator.
It won't listen. You can't be reasoned with, and it absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
I love that quote. That goes into the techno song. Yeah.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Anyway, so any other little tidbits of information before we start to get into the meat of our episode?
Test audiences really didn't like the name of the movie. They thought immediately like it was a remake of the old horror classic. So they took out a giant Super Bowl ad to try to change that ideal, and apparently it worked because people showed out in droves for it. So
let me get this straight. They decide to resurrect the old classic horror movies, the classic, what do they call them? The monster movies of the
Universal
early...
Monsters. It's Universal
Yeah, the
Monsters.
Universal Monsters. They're like, we are purposely going to pull this character from the 20s movie called The Mummy, and we're going to build an entire franchise off of this character. And they were hoping to build an entire franchise and a bunch of other movies that were offshoots. And then when they started to focus test it, people are like, I like the movie, except I don't like it being called The Mummy. And they're like, oh, let's distance ourselves from the movies in the 20s as much as we can.
pretty much. Hello, have you met a studio ever? Like, that's exactly what they do. This is what we want. This is what we want. We don't want that. That's not what we want. And we never said we wanted that. We want this really popular thing that's going to make us money. That's what we want.
What, the movie from the 20s? We never wanted it from the 20s. We never brought that up.
That
I mean,
wasn't us.
that's ridiculous, because that is 100% what this is. It's a Universal movie called The Mummy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it just modernized for people in the, what was this, late 90s?
1999.
Early 2000s?
99.
Yeah. Anything else that we have that is a tidbit of information?
That is all that I have at this time. I might bring things up throughout, fun little facts as we talk about our good, our bad.
All right, well, it is time to talk about the good.
I will have you know, my good page is pretty full.
Mine
I've got
too.
quite a few notes on
Mine
the good.
too.
So, all right. So then let's just go around the horn. Jamie, what give us one of your goods?
I love the opening. I think it really pulls you in right away. Gives you kind of the backstory of everything. Sets the emotional stakes immediately. Like, just love that opening scene.
Yep. That's one of my notes. I just put cool opening.
Yeah, I have pulpy intro check mark written, which is a positive.
Well, yeah, for you, that's the same as saying
Yeah.
good. So,
Yeah, right. And the sets just look
Yes.
great from the jump. I think the sets and throughout the entire movie are pretty great. Pretty good
I
looking
agree.
film in that regard.
Aliens could have taken some lessons from this on how to combine matte backdrops with good foregrounds that are practical setting.
I mean, there's
'cause a lot
only
of
been
times this movie was
13
pretty-
years of technological advancement between Aliens and this movie, so...
Wait, when did Alien 3 come out again? We literally just talked about their special effects, and they
Okay,
didn't do it too well either. So.
Alien 3, yes. You said Aliens, so I was...
Oh, yeah, true. But
Yeah.
that's the one I'm thinking of, because it's like... I would assume the whole matte versus foreground isn't so difficult. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I'm probably very, very wrong. But this movie shows that when it's well done, it's almost seamless because their backdrops. It's hard to tell when the foreground begins and ends, and that's perfect.
Yep. I also have the cast as my good. I love this whole cast. I really do.
Specifically, Brendan Fraser is wonderful in this. He's so likable, but he's one of those characters where if I wrote down the words for you and I told you to read the words of this character, you'd be like, this guy sounds like a fucking dickhead.
Exactly.
But it's Brendan Fraser, and
Yeah.
he's wonderful, so you automatically, he's so likable.
I've never associated the word with him, and in retrospect, I think, how could I not? But that meme that Adam posted, where he's a himbo, 100%.
Yep. I think he's the prototype for himbos, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's got to be, huh?
He is a great example of a himbo that you absolutely love in this movie because they can be unlikable, and he is not.
For those that are For those that might be unfamiliar with the phrase, himbo kind of implies like bimbo, where he's kind of not exactly the brightest, but himbo has like a really warm connotation. So it's assumed that the guy's not the brightest, but he means well and he's fun to have around. He's kind, that kind of stuff.
It's like if you
And
turned
good looking.
it's like if you turned a golden retriever into a human, you'd get
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
He ain't bright, but he's not going to hurt anybody intentionally. He might knock shit over on accident, but...
Right.
And, like Jamie said, and handsome, which Brendan Fraser, there's no denying that. No, at no point in his life, even when he's, like, been in prosthetics to make himself look unattractive, he's still very warm and inviting in appearance. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but...
Yeah, I also have every cheese actor written, and that's between the bad and the good column, because it's literally like every actor in this has had their share of cheese, and it's like come on, get in, guys, we're going to make the cheesiest 90s movie of all time.
Right?
And the movie leans into it, too. It does not
Right.
take itself seriously at all. At one point, I made a note. It's at like 31:48. So 31 minutes and 48 seconds. I'm not going to pull it up right now and make you watch. But there's a scene where I think it's Brendan Fraser's character pushes an enemy through a doorway to like push him away. And then as soon as the enemy falls into the door, an explosion just erupts from the doorway. And I'm like, how the fuck did that guy explode? Was he made of
down.
C4?
He pushes him into the burning couch. That's one of my good notes. Like, I love that little exchange. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Maybe there was a grenade on him there or something that I missed, but from my point of view, Brendan Fraser just pushing somebody makes them explode 10 feet away from him. And it was wonderful.
You know, to say it, they introduce him right with the little prologue scene. But then the next time we see him, he has this weird introduction. Speaking of Brendan Fraser, where he like grabs her and kisses her, and he's acting like a crazy person, which I guess is just because of desperation, because he doesn't want to be executed or whatever. But that was very
that shit'll fuck
strange.
with you. Being threatened to be executed, it might fuck with your head.
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. But it didn't feel like that character. Like, it was so out of character. It was very strange.
Here's the super fun fact for that. He did actually basically die on set there. He had to be resuscitated from that hanging.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those huge mishaps that people were talking about. All the actors that were on the set that day talk about it as a big traumatic experience, even for them.
Right.
Holy shit.
Well, yeah, how could it not be? I mean, like, think about it now. Even if you're at work and one of your coworkers, something happens to them in the course of doing their normal duties that shouldn't technically be dangerous. Really?
Especially if the boss is like, say, hey, can you go hang yourself and let us all watch? It's for good TV. So, and I'm watching the scene going, how the fuck did they do this? That looks so fucking real. He looks like he's actually being hung right now. And then I see the notes afterwards and I'm like, oh shit, no wonder they fucking hung the dude. Now that is commitment to your art. Oh, goddamn. And obviously we don't mean to make too much light of it because it's just it's so incredibly horrible. Anytime you're doing a project and your boss is telling you, hey, why don't you put yourself in dire harm's way and almost kill yourself because it's good for the team, maybe rethink how much you need this job.
Exactly. And if you do almost die from it, like, then you really need to rethink your pay scale at the very least.
Yeah. One of my positives is, of course, the Star Trek connection. Jerry Goldsmith, the John Williams of Star Trek, does the soundtrack for The Mummy, does a wonderful job. I think I remember even a couple times during the movie hearing both of you say, like, some small comment about how the music was really nice, too. And I was like, yay, other people are enjoying it, too.
Oh, yeah.
Got a good soundtrack.
I love that the woman is literally the smartest one in this entire cast. Like, in every character, she is by far the smartest person in this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even her archaeologist friend,
Yes,
who is like picking up dead bodies and playing with them and treating them like marionettes. Imagine an actual archaeologist watching this going, oh my God, please stop touching the dead bodies. You're going to break them. You're getting your oils on them. And yeah, she's, and there's no denying, like you mentioned in the selection of this movie, there's no denying that almost every single person in this cast is fucking gorgeous. And Rachel Weisz is the representative for our women of humanity. And boy, howdy, does she pull it off well, because she is one of the most gorgeous people of the 90s. You know, she's
Yes.
beautiful.
And even Patricia Velasquez, who plays, how can I not know this name? Anaksun Amun. She's gorgeous too.
Oh, of course.
She's not there
that
long,
name
but
that we
gorgeous.
use all the time.
I know, but they say it like 4 billion times in the show.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
How do you not know it? But yeah, she's gorgeous as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, almost everybody in this cast is either comedic relief or one of the most beautiful human beings to exist at this time in history.
Right. Or
It's
sometimes
one of the
both.
two, so... Yeah, I mean, Brendan Fraser kind of fits
Yeah.
both, but I really appreciate how well that we saw a necromancer in movies. If you remember, I mentioned in like the Conan movies or even in other movies that we might have watched that I love seeing magic users from D&D, that whole fantasy trope.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing how, like, I think when we talked about Friday the 13th years ago, and I was like, Jason is kind of like an illusionist. Or Freddy was kind of like...
Freddy's an illusionist,
you know, like,
yes. Nightmare
Freddy's
on
the
Elm Street.
illusionist. Jason was kind of like the rogue archetype or something like that. I don't know. We were trying to fit these horror villains into D&D stereotype, like into D&D classes. And as much as I love seeing the illusionist in that in Freddy and in the illusionist in the Conan series, this is a great representation of what a necromancer does and the kind of powers that a necromancer would have. And I'm like, okay, so are we just going to go one by one and see all the different classes in D&D as the villains? Because I'm down for that. I want
Right.
to see what an anti-paladin bad guy looks like in a really good movie. And maybe there are movies that are out there, like The Green Knight, I've heard is really good and stuff. Who knows? But
I haven't seen that one, so I can't tell you.
I kind of like the whole concept of the two competing like expeditions, like being
Right.
forced to work together and against each other. That's just kind of a fun conceit. Again, to bring it back to D&D.
a la Twister.
I've never seen Twister, so
You've never seen Twister?
never
Oh, it's a
seen
classic.
Twister.
It's a classic for a reason.
is?
It's a fun movie. Maybe we'll watch it at some point. But it has a similar thing going on where they're chasing a storm and there are two different teams that are competing against each other, but they have the same goal and that kind of stuff.
This one's a little less wholesome because they're chasing treasure as opposed to trying to get storm
But it's also
data.
got Carrie. Yeah, but that also has Carrie Elwes in it too.
Yes,
and
it
he is
does.
one of those delightful to watch and everything kind of person.
Yes, he is.
isn't Bill Paxton in Twister also?
Yes, he's the main protagonist. He and Helen Hunt are the protagonists.
Yeah, you don't got to twist my arm.
That also has a very great cast. Yeah.
And boy, Helen Hunt is one of those. I had a crush on her like for years and years, and I don't know why. Why? I think I got a thing for noses. Anyways,
That's a
what's another good we got?
weird
the line
confession.
Yeah, I'm trying not to stumble over what I have to say, but that was like knocking around in my head like a ricochet.
Like a bullet just rocking around in your skull. Ding, 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 ding.
The line no harm ever came from reading a book.
I literally have that down too.
That's a fun good one.
I could hear the German nationalist music playing in the background as I could hear the Hitler speech happening as he was saying it.
But that ties into my when it touches on the horror, it's actually pretty fun in this and very very sort of Evil Dead reminiscent. I feel that's maybe like kind of what they were looking at when they were doing this stuff, because some of the noises, some of the screeches, some of the ways the dead were moving and whatnot, very very Evil Dead reminiscent, and
that's what made it feel consistent. Like these were the necromancers. Like that's what raised the army and the army of dead. This is what armies of skeletons look like now in my mind, and still to this day, that's what they kind of remind me of.
I also have to give a shout out to the homage to Bram Stoker's Dracula, because the other group of guys 100% reads like the suitors from Bram Stoker's Dracula to me. Like,
all
yeah.
of Lucy's suitors, yeah, but
Yes,
they're all
yeah,
somehow
absolutely.
the American. They're like
Yeah.
all divided into the American one, yeah.
Arthur Homewood.
yes,
Yeah, I noticed when I talked about the music, I kind of skipped past it, and I want to come back to it real quick. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the music is that you got Jerry Goldsmith, which is famous for making these huge sweeping soundtracks and these orchestral, like very romantic vibes, sometimes very combat-oriented vibes, but it felt like he was playing a lot with what what Western ears would hear as Eastern scales. Like there are certain scales that our ears in Western media kind of interpret as this is the Middle Eastern quote unquote scale, or this is the Asian quote unquote scale, that kind of stuff. And it felt like this, and a lot of times what I guess a broader term, if anybody's interested in learning more about these different types of scales, the scales for a lot of Middle Eastern and Arabic music is called Maqam. And I'm probably mispronouncing that. Maybe that Q is a little bit harder, but it's Maqam. And this felt like, I don't want to say like baby's first Maqam, but it felt like it was like early to intermediate of learning about how those scales work. Like it's a lot of just traversal going up and down some of these scales at different point to establish it to the listener. So they don't do anything complex with it. So, obviously Arabic composers probably go far above and beyond what we heard in this, but if you enjoy those Middle Eastern scales that Jerry Goldsmith, I don't know how much experience he even has with Maqam, but I thought that was an interesting little I think he did a good job with it. So
that word is funny, hearing you talk about Jerry Goldsmith and Maqam in the same sentence, especially coming from you.
I didn't say my cum. I said Maqam.
Yeah, okay. It sounds like Arnold saying it. Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith is familiar with Maqam.
He's very familiar with Maqam.
I really liked a lot of the effects, especially the effects of the mummy becoming a whole human, like the way they did that, especially when you think back to the time, and that this was pretty groundbreaking effects at that time.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of a meme that I saw from the Mummy with really bad CGI, and I've been told that's from the Scorpion King.
Yeah, that's where I said it gets really weird in the future.
And I'm like, how the mighty have fallen then? How did they go from this, which was actually pretty well done, to that? I don't know. And it's still
I will point you back towards the Alien franchise.
Yeah, but okay, so then it brought up another point to me that this seems very obvious to anybody listening probably, but like, when we watch a movie that we're not exactly feeling the vibe as much for and the effects don't work, we're super harsh to it. This movie, I feel like if this movie was bad and we weren't enjoying it, we probably would have been tearing up these effects hard, because really they weren't great.
Oh, don't worry,
I'm horrible either.
I'm going to be tearing up the computer effects in this movie. I think they're fucking abysmal. I'm
thinking it's a little rose-colored glasses, because when I was watching it, I'm like, this ain't great. This isn't good. When they're trying to do anything that's human-ish, it's not good. But it didn't hamper my enjoyment, because the whole fucking movie is campy. They threw a man into a couch and it exploded. So, like, what do I care if Dude Bro looks like Gumby or something? I don't give a shit.
Well, we'll talk about this more in the later columns for my part of it. But since we brought it up, to me, the sin of the computer graphics of this is that it keeps it from actually being great. Because if it was this level of kind of awesome, enjoyable camp with really good, serious practical effects that look awesome, it would have elevated this to greatness for me. But instead, I get plastic-looking CGI that, well, I'll save that for later. But I think the only computer effect that really impressed me was whenever the sand swirls into
the sandstorm. Yeah,
that looked really good.
Yes.
That's like the one highlight that I have in the good column for the CG effects. Practical effects are great, and sometimes the combination of CG and practical are great. Like all the little scarab beetles when they go over the guy and then he's a skeleton when they clear away. I love that shit. I eat that shit up. That's good stuff.
Right. Although that would never happen in reality.
I don't care.
I had to say it after.
I passed along a video after we watched the movie, and it's on YouTube if you want to look for it. It's The Mummy reviewed by an Egyptologist, and it's two women watching the video, and it's wonderful. And the Egyptologist throughout the video is constantly making comments about how accurate this is, or accurate that is, or she's actually interpreting the language at some points where they don't like they'll say, "Oh, this is what this scroll says," and she'll pause it and read it and actually explain what it says in Haramic or whatever the language is. And it's very accurate in a lot of ways, except for the one thing that she really got mad about was the fact that they were flesh-eating scarabs, and she's like, "There's no blah 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 blah," and it seems like such an odd nitpick that it's like, yeah, that's a fantasy element. Mummies don't actually come to life either, as far as we know. So
Maybe they do.
Yeah, they look at them playing fast and loose with the rules of reality. I'm gonna go watch Lord of the Rings next.
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
I have quite a few more goods. I'm going to roll down a couple of quick hits so that I can knock some of this off my list. Sure. I enjoyed the camels. I thought the camels were like a good side character, and they were a fun, cute comic relief whenever they were on the screen. The camels actually had some good personality. I loved all the cats and how central the cats were, and how the cats, even though they were central to the plot, they looked like they couldn't give two fucks whether here's a star or cat and scare him, and the cat's like, "Will you please put me down? This is the indignity of you holding me like this, sir."
Yeah, the cat doesn't care.
Do you understand that I am a cat?
Yeah, it's not
a
$1 million movie. The cat doesn't care. It's like, could you please not? Could you just not?
Yeah. The English being code for the heroes, I thought that was a nice touch. Like, if the group of us were abducted by aliens and we were on an alien ship, maybe us speaking to each other in English or in slang would be like a code. And that's so cool to me, thinking that the dominant language in our culture would become a secret code in another culture, kind of thing.
That is a really good take on that. I would never have thought of that. I can see why you would, though. That is very you coded.
Because I love the fact that they're talking openly about their plans in front of the villain, and I'm like, oh, he's going to hear you. Oh, he doesn't understand English, so English.
Yeah.
And then, that's where it snowballed. I really enjoyed that this movie didn't shy away from having some genuinely scary scenes.
Right.
Yes.
It felt like for a little kid that would have terrified you. So, good job for not hiding from that.
The soul-swallowing shadow scene in particular is pretty awesome.
Uh-huh. The fact that one of the heroes, one of the main protagonists, is a librarian. Just a round of applause for the librarians. Yeah, am I patting myself on the back? Yeah, a little bit, but
I remember you audibly groaned, I think, when she knocked over all those bookshelves.
Oh, we'll get to that. We will address that in a later category.
Yes. Knowing Kelley's a librarian, watching that scene, I was actually cringing and felt very uncomfortable watching it with him.
You shouldn't have to be a librarian to feel the pain in what we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. All right, somebody else tell me a good, so I'm not rattling down my list anymore.
I thought the fight choreography was surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it to look so good on screen for a late 90s cheese fest, but they actually put in the work, and a lot of the stuff they put in the work that surprised me, like I said, like the sets and the fight choreography. I loved Benny.
It was no Star Trek. It was no Star Trek, that's for sure. And I mean that in a positive way. Star Trek is not known for great fight scenes.
I do want to say to that the scene that Brendan Fraser is fighting all the mummies off, while Evie's on the slab, that was completely, there's nobody he's fighting against. That is 100% him meeting his choreograph.
Yeah, and that's
by himself.
That's particularly the scene that I'm talking about. It looked very good.
It's dedication to your craft.
Absolutely.
That means he rehearsed it a lot, over and over and over again, where he could get subtle nuances. He wasn't just hitting marks; he was doing it with a purpose.
And you know that he did a good job, and you can tell when movies don't do a good job of that, because then they're like, "Uh-oh, we have to switch to these quick edits." You know what I mean? Of all these different where you can't see.
Yeah, but you're like, boom, boom, boom.
It's like nice wide shots of him hitting his marks. That's good. We love
as much
that.
as I love Star Trek, that's what new Star Trek does to try to make up the difference. And now we have really cool fight scenes. I'm like, no, you're just cutting a bunch of weird angles and Dutch angles and shit and making it look but
and that's that to me is a big kudos to Brendan Fraser, because that's not easy to do. Even if you do rehearse a lot, that says a lot about his ability to me.
Truly delighted by Benny with every single religious icon
Yes.
that he can think of. That's actually smart.
I'm just like impressed by the character and the actor together, and I think we both agreed halfway through the movie that this is the guy that the Conan thief and Conan the Destroyer should have been.
1000%.
This is how you pull up.
It's
this
that
is how
character.
you pull off a.
Yeah.
He has no scruples. He has no values or morals to speak of, but he will help you if it does align with his. And he does it in a way that's he's kind of likable in a really greasy kind of way.
Yes. He's a good scummy character.
And not only does he have every religious symbol there, he knows a prayer in every single one of those languages to try to get away with it.
Yep.
Just in case. I mean,
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yep.
I have this written down. How's your friend? He had his eyes and tongue ripped out. How do you think?
Not doing great. Not doing so well. Got to tell you.
Right.
But in his defense, he doesn't really bitch much. He just kind of moans. So
My last good note is that I think that it probably influenced Resident Evil 4 to a degree, because when Brendan Fraser puts the leather coat on, he looks a lot like Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 4. He's even got that 90s haircut, same leather jacket. I don't know if you guys know what that looks like, but if you just Google RE4 Leon Kennedy, you're going to see it looking like Brendan Fraser. Maybe jacket is you have to specify, but
yeah, it's definitely a look.
right? And like it seems like an oddly specific look to come out in a video game like 3 years later. So
Right.
I'm just throwing it in.
Oh yeah, I can see it now because I'm looking at the Brendan Fraser, and I saw him in the reverse order. I saw Leon Kennedy and then Brendan, and yeah, I could see it. And who knows how much of it is derivative and how much of it is in honor of, and how much of it is just great minds having similar ideas 1,000 miles apart or something. Because I mean, it's just a good look on a character. But even his hair is very similar. Like he's got
yeah.
that
the
that
90s
bowl
butt cut. Yeah.
Yeah. That in the late 80s, early 90s, I was like, I want that kind of haircut. I never got it, and there's secretly inside of me a teenage boy that wants that skater boy haircut. But
Yeah, we call it.
I'm never gonna get it.
We call it the butt cut.
Yep.
Butt cut? I don't know. It's like the Leo DiCaprio skaters from the 80s.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
It was always my favorite haircut.
It's parted directly in the middle, like a butt on your head. that's the.
Oh, I see. My last good note is that one of the things I think makes this movie work in a weird camp area, but it doesn't feel campy in a cringy way, is that it feels very much like this is a stage play. Like, if you were to translate The Mummy and you were to make a stage play out of it, complete with big, huge sets, like a Broadway stage play with like millions of dollars thrown into it, this is how they would act. I don't think the characters would act any different on stage. And generally, you see there is a difference between stage acting and film acting. Because stage acting, you have to reach the back seats. The person in the nosebleeds has to be able to read what's going on your face. You got to act a little bit bigger than you would normally. Whereas in film, and in this movie, it feels like they're acting for the people in the back seats, even though it's a close-up. And it gives it that weird... we understand the language of the medium, so we can fold ourselves into it well, but it still feels very exaggerated and camp, so that when somebody explodes out of nowhere, we're not going, what the fuck just happened? Or when the big huge bad guy is thrown back into the pits of hell because somebody held up a cat,
Right.
we're not going, what the fuck? Because it's a little bit silly because of it. And I think that's part of the reason why this movie worked, is because they acted it like a stage play.
Right. I think part of that is an homage to the original source material too, because obviously everything before, as you love to say, before the 70s was a little more stage play-esque acting and a little bit bigger and not necessarily catered to a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan Fraser said that like they had looked at a couple different people to play the part, and he said something, and I'm paraphrasing him here, but he said part of the reason why I felt like it worked better for me, or that I understood the character so well, is I understood that he does not take himself seriously at all. Like the character does not take any of this seriously, and that made the difference. I guess that made him a little bit more likable. If he was very gritty and grimdark, it would have been he's just an asshole then.
He also reiterated that when asked why the 2017 version of The Mummy didn't do so well.
Yeah, go figure. Tom Cruise is one of the actors they originally had pinned for this movie,
Yeah.
the original, the one we're watching right now. But they chose Brendan Fraser instead because of a scheduling conflict or something else. And then they bring in Tom Cruise for the later one. And I hear it doesn't do as well. I haven't seen it, so...
If you're talking about an actor that takes himself seriously, I think Tom Cruise is probably the actor that takes himself the most seriously to detrimental levels of, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah, and it's not that Brendan Fraser doesn't take himself. It's more that he understands when a character shouldn't be taken as a grim, dark. This isn't gritty,
Right.
realistic. This is a ham-fisted, hammy character. So,
Did you guys ever see that trailer for the Tom Cruise Mummy that they accidentally released with no music and no sound effects other than Tom Cruise screaming, but it's the same scream loop over.
no, I have not seen that. Oh my God!
I'll show you after we record. It'll be part of our marketing material. For
Listener, if it's really good, you might be listening to it right now. Enjoy.
Pan, this is November 4, 09er.
What the hell?
Oh, so funny. Oh, hello there, dear listener. I hardly noticed you over all of my coolness. Do you want to be cool too? Well, what would make you incredibly cool is to share our pod with someone that you love or with someone that you hate, depending on how you feel about the podcast.
He's right. We're a solid gift for people you love and hate.
Research has shown that when you share us with your friends and enemies, you feel 100% more satisfied in your life.
I have heard that study. It was a recent study. It was really remarkable work.
You know what else you can do? You could subscribe to us.
Oh my God, is that really?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a
You
huge
could subscribe.
It's a huge ask. What a big ask.
It's not really. It's super easy. You just hit the little button. Boom. We show up in your podcaster thingy every single week without you even having to think about it.
Now that you mention it, it is pretty easy. Just hit the subscribe button. Like, you know how many buttons we hit to bring you this hit content every week?
You're going to be asking them to set it to auto download so that we
I
are
am.
just waiting.
You
sitting
know
there
what? Yeah,
every week.
yeah.
You
I'm
are so
cool
smart.
with that. You know how much work we put into making the least they can do is share it with their friends and hit the download button, subscribe. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
We're trying to make it easier for you in the long run.
Yes, we're just trying to help you.
I'm just trying to help you.
I'm sorry, but I don't need your help.
Yes, you do, motherfucker.
Yeah, and while we're tasking you with all these chores, you might as well come yell at us about it on social media. We are on YouTube. We are on Blue Sky, not the bad place. We have a fresh, brand new Insta. We're on Facebook, so you can come share your slop AI images that your grandma sends you with us. We'll be happy to take them and discuss them. We have a Discord where you can come chat and post and interact with us. Tell us how wrong we are about our opinions on movies and post your page-long essays.
Or how very right I am.
I'm waiting for people to tell you how wrong you really are about Rise of Skywalker, but yeah, right now you're sitting easy because nobody's bringing up this huge gap that you have in your logic.
Hey, I hope no one brings up my huge gap.
Dirty.
It's not something that I like to talk about in public.
Well, you picked the wrong hobby to pick up, my friend. We also have a Ko-Fi page, ko-fi.com/screenshare, where you can buy us a coffee, rent us a movie, and a bunch of other stuff too. So, I mean, even if you don't want to spend the money, there are ways you can help us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get on and give us a review. You can tell Keith how wrong he is in reviews. You can tell Kelley how wrong he is in reviews. You can tell me how right I am in reviews. You can talk about all
why
of it.
don't we spin this positively a little bit? Can we be? Let's try this again. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Because we all know that I'm the one that everybody agrees with. Always, all the
It
time.
seems to be the case so far. Yeah, really. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it is. You're not lying.
So, really what you could just do is leave a review that tells everybody how amazing you think our podcast is, and that's why you listen to it every week. We'd love that. We'd love that in participation, and we might even read your review in an upcoming episode.
But if you do want to spend the money, we are totally fine with that. We could use the support. That's why we put these ads in here, to try to drum up a little extra support for this pod that you know and love, that we've been working with you for a year, putting out quality content every week. And some of the ways you can support us is on ko-fi.com/screenshare, where you can rent us a movie. You can force us to watch a movie and review it. Be prepared. We might not always like it. You can make us read a message that you type out to us. We can play a recorded message. Again, all of these are within reason. We're not going to say anything horrible or mean to anyone in particular, unless it's really, really funny, I guess. And also, if you have a small business or a podcast or something that you want to promote, you can absolutely buy some ad time with us too. So look for us on ko-fi.com/screenshare, and you can find out all about those financial ways that you can help support the pod.
And hey, you know what?
We'll even propose to your future fiance for you if you pay us enough.
Right. It doesn't need to be a business you're advertising. Did you write a poem that you really like? We'll read it. We might snicker a little bit, but
Hey, no, we'll give an honest try to not mock any art that people send us, because that's art is a sacred place for all of us here. So,
and art is always subjective. So just because one person doesn't like it doesn't mean another won't. Heath,
except for the Rise of Skywalker, except for the Rise of Skywalker, which is objectively good.
Oh no! We'll save that for the pod. But thank you all for joining us, and now back to your regular scheduled rambling.
Back to the show.
So is that all of our good?
It seems to be. Sounds like it's time to talk about the bad.
Oh no, all the bad in the Mummy. Who wants to go first?
I will. The title graphics are terrible. Like they
should have used papyrus font.
For all the goodwill that the pulpy intro has, the title graphics are like the height of 90s, just like indulgent computer graphics.
Right?
Fuck, not good.
CGI is the future, bro. Check out this movie, The Mummy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of my negatives, or one of my bads, is the plagues. I noticed when he starts talking about the classic Egyptian plagues, and one of the things he mentions is a hail of fire, and I'm like, I don't remember reading that in the Bible anywhere. I don't remember reading there being comets of explosive fireballs raining down from the heavens. I mean, there were a lot of bad things that happened during the Egyptian plagues, but fire raining from heaven was not one of them, as far as I know. I think people would have made note of that. If there were just fireballs falling from the sky, somebody would have written about it.
It was just hail, not fire hail.
Yeah, it was just hail. It wasn't fire hail that explodes upon impact. It wasn't ordnance. It was just ice.
Right.
This note sort of half erases itself, but I'm still going to mention it because it took so long to get there. I wrote and underlined, Mummy is supposed to be horror, because the horror doesn't really show up till like the last third of the movie when they're actually opening sarcophagi and reading from the book and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a side
so
note.
It's
horror is one of the spices. It's not the main dish.
Right, and so it just pinged me, but it showed itself to actually pay attention and effectively pull out some horror when it needed to, so that note's a little diminished for me, but it's still there because it doesn't start horrific or anything. It takes a while to get you there.
No, it actually starts as very much a live story.
I don't know, that library scene was pretty horrible. What's one of your bads, Jamie?
Yeah, let's hear some Jamie.
My first bad is probably kind of a product of it being a 90s movie, but every Egyptian cast member, every Egyptian character is played by somebody who looks just slightly, quote unquote, exotic.
Yeah. If they've got brown skin and they're pretty and dark hair, then sure, put them up there.
Patricia Velasquez.
Dude, that guy is Indian. Doesn't matter. We'll call him Arabic. It doesn't matter.
Arnold Vosloo, who plays the Mummy, the character, is South African, things of that nature, that it just, obviously that needs to be mentioned.
So he's just white.
Believe.
He's just white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quote unquote
Yeah.
South African. Yeah.
Well, but that's like he's from He's South African. He's a white South African. He's about as far away from Egyptian as you can get.
Yeah, there are not many places on the fucking globe you can travel to that are farther away from Egypt than South Africa. I mean, South America, I guess, but it's, come on,
Right.
man. So basically, they whitewashed an Egyptian character with a white actor, but at least it was the villain.
Characters.
Also, they couldn't even get the budget to afford the real Billy Zane. They had to buy him off a Wish.
Don't you come after Arnold Vosloo like that. This man is one of my favorites.
I swear
Don't
to
you
God,
dare.
My entire life, I thought that was Billy Zane. Mike, our listener Mike, had the same reaction. He thought that was Billy Zane. Like, I'm a 42-year-old man, and I thought that was Billy Zane my entire life. I thought it was, like, later in his washed-up career, Billy Zane.
As a 46-year-old woman, no, it is not.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Jamie, is that that in your opinion, how dare you compare the two? Because Vosloo is much better than Billy Zane.
He's better looking, I think.
Is he a better actor too? Like,
I think that their acting
are you a big
skill-
Vosloo fan? Is what I'm getting at.
I think that their acting skills are probably pretty on par. Both are kind of relegated to secondary characters, and other than this movie, background, not anything starring role kind of thing. I'd say their acting skills are pretty much on par. This might be Vosloo's main grab at attention, but he's better looking than Billy Zane. He has more gravitas.
I thought the sarcophagus falling literally directly into their path was a little ridiculous. It's like, let's just get the plot moving, fellas. Right. Here you go.
Right.
Drop it right
Yeah.
in front of them.
Well, that kind of leads into one of my bads. It's just it's a little bit unbelievable at times. Obviously, it's like a cartoon movie.
Yes.
But the infinite ammo was so like
I saw that like the first like gun shootout, and then I decided not to write it because at least he changed the clip. Like it wasn't, it's not like he never
he changed
ran
his
out.
clip after firing 28 rounds out of an 8-round clip.
Right.
So, but I decided to ignore that because of the style of movie that it is.
Right.
Once I saw that he at least changed his clip, I'm like,
He
okay.
attempted
Yeah.
realism.
They made a nod to, hey, we do change clips, but then it's kind of implied that he's changing more clips. It just happens to be happening off screen.
Sure.
But I'm like, but we're
Like when
staring
they cut away
at
from him,
him.
that's when it happens.
Yeah, but we're staring at him for like 5 minutes straight. So I don't know. But anyways. Jamie, give me another one of your bads.
The dialogue in general. I mean, it is a campy movie. They lean into the camp, but it is so cliched and just not great. They didn't put a lot of effort and thought into the dialogue of this movie. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a minor note that I didn't say in the good is that it seems like the script was decent. Like the A to B script is decent.
Right.
But the dialogue that propels us there is like just not very decent. But again, it's pulpy, it's cheesy. It doesn't need to be.
It's I think it feels like this is dad joke script.
Yes.
You know, like, do you enjoy really cringy, groany dad joke pun humor?
Yes, I
then
do.
you'll love the jokes in this movie. And if you find it to be, so like I can see where some people, there were times in this movie where they made a very obvious joke on screen. They could have put it like a wah 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 afterwards or something. And here I am just rolling my eyes.
Yep.
Did I laugh? No, but it's also like I'm rolling my eyes in a dad kind of way. So
yep.
I'm not angry at the movie, but the script did feel like there were times where I'm like, really, that's the best. Okay, cool. Keep going. Yeah. But again, I was more forgiving because of all the things I mentioned earlier, like all these likable characters. The setting is cool. The music is cool. It's campy. They're not taking it seriously. If I go to see a stage play and one of the characters makes a dad joke, I might groan a little bit, but I'm still having a good time if the rest of everything is good. So,
and I honestly think that sometimes those groan jokes, that the response that you're supposed to have is a groan. Like it's there for that. Oh, kind of.
Yeah.
Like that's the proper response.
Mel Brooks always said, I'm trying to fit the most jokes into a shorter amount of time. Some of them are going to land with you. Some of them won't. Some of them will make the guy next to you laugh, even though you think it's stupid. And that feels like a lot of the jokes in this movie are like somebody in the theater laughed. So if you went to see this in the theater, there was a teenage kid there with their dad, and the dad guffawed loudly at this joke, and the teenager shrunk into their seat because, oh my God, my dad thought that was literally funny.
One of my big bads is when the moon blots out the sun and they go into the darkness of the plagues of Egypt. And it is just a horrible representation of like darkness. It's not even kind of dark. It's just like they threw a brown filter over the screen. That drove me nuts.
Yeah, the tricks that they use to try to denote darkness in movies. I think you guys called Lady Hawk out for that big time, saying that the night did not look dark at all. I'm like, no, because they filmed it during the day.
It's called day for night is the term, where they just shoot it in the day and slap a filter over it and like, look, see, it's daytime.
But I've seen more effective.
This one brown.
Yeah, I've seen more effective ways to do that than this movie or Lady Hawk used.
Yeah. One of my bads, and my final bad really is I put Acme Sexism. And it felt like run-of-the-mill, produced in a factory, not even groan-worthy sexism. Like, I'm just staring deadpan at the screen when Brendan Fraser makes a weirdly sexist joke. I'm not mad at Brendan. I'm not even necessarily mad at the script. It's just... Did you
pointless. Just coin that term? Because it's perfect. I didn't have a way to express that, but that's... Acme Sexism, like on the studio, there's a big crate that says Acme Sexism, and it's like, all right, boys, time to open the crate and get this in there because it's a movie, and we just got to have this bog standard sexism.
How much do we need for this movie? It's The Mummy. It says 6 barrels. All right, get 6 barrels of generic A-class sexism out of there.
And I think that harkens back to Keith's issue with the kiss before the execution scene. That's what that felt like. It was, let's throw this in there, and it didn't fit.
Yeah, because literally he just assaulted her.
Yeah,
she didn't ask for that, or he battered her, or whatever. Like she didn't ask for that touch. That was non-consenting, and that's our hero kissing another one of the heroes. Are we supposed to be mad at him for this?
Right.
She's supposed to be mad at him for this, right? Like
that's my bad note is false machismo : kiss kiss. That's funny.
Dirty.
But Acme Sexism. That's good. I think we need to refer to things that needs to become like part of
a
our
phrase of
vocabulary.
Ours.
Yes.
Just run of the mill warehouse produced, mass produced sexism.
Yep. I have the sexual assault on my bad too. It's for the same reason. Like it didn't fit. It didn't need to be there, and it's definitely not asked for.
He could have literally, like, when that happened, he could have just all of a sudden turned very serious and said, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
And then she'd been like, what? And it would have had the same effect. Yeah. And he would have been heroic a little bit.
Even the good old, like, again, super cheesy and super cliche, but kiss me once before I die type thing.
Because, like, if you're gonna do that, what's the difference between grabbing her face, unasked for and kissing it and like whipping it out and jerking it? You know what I mean? It's like almost the same thing.
Reaching out and grabbing hold of her boob.
Right.
Like, whoa, dude. No, you did not have consent to touch me. And it's in public and you're a slave and I'm trying to buy you. Like, wait a minute. Maybe that makes it kind of okay because she's taking part in slavery. So I don't feel too bad. Anyway. So, any other bad?
Just the Imhotep priests, they were just awful. They were the low part in the acting. They weren't even campy. They were just bad. It's towards the end of the movie.
Refresh my memory on the...
They were towards the end of the movie when they're helping prepare her for the body change.
It felt like to me maybe there was like a language barrier or something, or maybe like, I don't know, it felt like maybe those were extras that they gave some lines to or something. They didn't feel like established actors working with the English language. And I don't mean to say that insulting. It just seemed like their lines kind of came out a little bit
stilted
wonky,
and weird,
and I'm not sure why. Maybe it was bad DAR or something. Who the fuck knows? So...
I do have my one final bad is it kind of leads me into some of my ugly, but There was a bad CGI sand face, and it's when he's shooting at it, and it's like,
Yes.
that just feels stupid. Like, you're gonna shoot at sand? What is that gonna do for you, buddy? You're gonna shoot all 28 bullets of your gun into sand?
You dumb bastard.
Even Peter Parker shot his web at Sandman.
At least,
so,
at
you got to try it.
At least a web will clump up the sand. You know what I mean? Like, a bullet is just going to fly through it. So
That sounds an awful lot like scarabs don't eat flesh.
yeah,
I think you're getting oddly specific about the campy mummy movie.
sure,
Right.
sure. It bugged me. You know, they have those little things that bug you.
Yeah,
and that bugged me.
absolutely. Fair enough.
All right, let's talk about the ugly.
I have to say, I don't have a lot of ugly, and it's kind of nitpicky for me because
I have one big, huge, horrible, ugly note, and it is the library abuse that we get in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Oh my God, that scene, it literally gave me a mini anxiety attack watching it. I was even thinking, how the fuck did they do this with special effects? They didn't. That was with real practical library shelves and books, and they did that shot once, and they were thankful that it worked out in that one shot because they did not want to reset, and I'm like, who has to clean up this mess? How many books did you damage? Like, oh my God, it sent chills down my spine in the worst fucking way.
And like I said, it was painful for me to watch it knowing you were watching it because I knew you were going to have a visceral reaction to it.
I'm a librarian. I work with library shelves and stacks of books. This is my job every day, and I can't. It pisses me off when like we get a teenager in there and they'll move a book from one section to another, and I'm like, it's so time consuming. It's just a pointless thing.
So that pisses you off, then every shelf in the library toppling over has to.
Yes,
they're the same picture.
And even the bookshelves themselves, they were beautiful. They look like they were made out of like mahogany or something like that, and they're slamming into each other and falling on the ground and probably breaking in a bunch of places. So not only are we losing all these books, we're losing like these bookshelves are getting all fucked up in the process too. And it was hard to watch. Obviously, I'm a little tongue in cheek. That was phenomenally scened. That was stellar. What a special effect for such a little joke kind of, but it really establishes a lot about this character. But her clumsiness doesn't really like, I don't know, it doesn't become a huge factor too much. So it just felt like a little quirk than an actual plot point.
I think it's one of those, like, look at her. She's so regular, girl. Don't you just adore her? Isn't she just adorable kind of?
Like, women, can you believe it?
It felt like a little bit more. They dipped into the sexism a little bit for it, but like the way that the director of that library sounds, he makes it sound like she has got a cloud of bad luck around her everywhere she goes, and it's not like that at all. She just made a mistake, like. Or the alternative is she does have a cloud of bad luck, and that all changed the moment that Brendan Fraser sexually assaulted her.
Or
romantic.
She's a woman working in his library, and therefore he just despises the fact that there's a woman working in his library, and so she obviously has to be a bumbling idiot.
It could be a meta nuanced take on sexism in the workplace, but somehow I don't believe that. I don't think that the writers had that in mind, but it's possible.
I feel like it's probably much more likely that there's a whole bunch of cutting room floor of her like stumbling that they just took out because it wasn't necessary.
Hey, Jamie, what about your nitpicky uglies?
The gold book that they're handling that has zero weight to it, like a gold book of that size would be incredibly heavy and hard to lug around, and they're just like flinging it around like it's nothing, because it is
not bricks of metal it is.
That was one of them. That the chariot riding through and taking his soul, that was super cheesy. Like, that was extra cheesy. That was Scorpion King levels of cheese there.
I was even thinking, then I put this on the ugly, and I don't know if it really counts as an ugly. I just thought it was kind of funny. But when the main bad guy is doing all of his magical attacks, and he's like casting these spells that are affecting the heroes from far away, and the camera is like panning around him as he's casting these spells and like, making these broad gestures with his hands and these very dramatic faces. And they have all these special effects swirling around him, and you can see the magical essence and everything. And I'm like, imagine being on the set that day and watching the actor act without any of the effects, without any of the music, and you just see this guy going, just for like fucking hours of him just flailing his arms about, acting like a goddamn fool. I want to be there. I want to watch Maslow do these scenes without any of the special effects. I think it would be hilarious.
It would be.
What about you, Keith? Any other uglies?
Yes, my one main ugly, which is I'm actually genuinely happy for both of you that the CGI wasn't able to tank the movie. It did not ruin the movie for me, but it did something that might be worse, which is like physically clawed it out of the greatness spot and pulled it back down to just being cheese and camp, because I hated most of the digital effects in this movie. To me, it was as bad as the bad 80s green screen stuff that we see. Like, bad CGI now looks as bad as bad 80s green screen did then. And it's like the when he first resurrects the corpse, you see the corpse and what it looks like, and then the thing that comes alive with CG looks nothing like that. The textures are different. It looks like it's made out of wood instead of rotten flesh.
What the hell is even that?
Yeah.
It's bad enough to pull me out. And like I said earlier, I feel that if the level of fun, camp, and goofiness that this movie has, if I was able to take the effects seriously, it would propel it into either really good or maybe even great. But unfortunately, it just keeps it as kind of good cheese because I'm rolling my eyes at every digital effect that's in it. I considered most of the digital effects truly ugly. Like, again, I don't want to sound too negative because it didn't sour. I'm not going to give this a thumbs down or anything for it.
Yeah, I get you.
It's not the same level of Alien 3, because the movie that was Alien 3 was also not so great in addition to the effects dragging it down. That's not what's going on here. It was a genuinely fun, good, campy movie that it's just not allowed to be elevated because of these effects dragging it down.
Would you be similarly critical of Army of Darkness?
I would be less critical because most of that is practical effects. It's something about practical effects. If there's a real item there, it's easier for me, at least, to glom onto. There's some bad green screen stuff in Army of Darkness that when we eventually do watch it, I'm sure I will be critical of. But again, that's a largely practical effects movie, which I feel makes the difference, which is the problem with this era in movie making. Jurassic Park comes out and it's world class, like, revolutionary digital effects, industrial light and magic, people who have been working on this technology in private for years and years and years. You know what I mean? So that comes out, and then everybody says, ooh, digital effects are the future, and then every studio wants to do it, but at the same time they're like, no, don't do it. We don't want to spend as much money. You know what I mean? So it's like it's it's there and it's capable of being done, but you cut corners and you don't fully apply it the way it needs to be, and it becomes stuff like this where it's just another bad effect and not revolutionary.
Yeah, see, I find myself, I'm with you and I agree with you, but it didn't hamper my enjoyment as much because it's like Army of Darkness. And that's why I brought that up, is in my mind, they occupy the same place. That's the same kind of movie, the same level of effects, the same quality of acting, the same hammy acting. They're as quotable as each other. They have some sexism. You know, I mean, they're very, very close to analogs to each other.
They are very similar.
And I find, like, even though I find myself agreeing with you, I'm like, why don't I judge Army of Darkness by that same metric? Even though when I think of Army of Darkness, I think bad effects. That's one of the things that goes through my mind. But it's the best we had for skeletons at the time, and yada yada.
It's also something about I think it's the practical effects in Army of Darkness just feel slightly more charming to me. Like these these bad effects weren't charming to me. They were just bad. And I wouldn't want to say it hampered my enjoyment. It just didn't allow it to be elevated. It didn't allow the enjoyment that was on the screen to get into my soul and buff it up as something more. You know what I mean? That's what it takes when you really like a movie. It's not just the sum of what the movie is giving you. It's what you are taking from and internalizing from the movie. And I just didn't get that much from this one because of that.
So yeah, I agree with you. Why am I more critical of this than I am Army of Darkness? And maybe you're hitting on it. Maybe it's that little bit of extra practical level. Maybe it was the weird textures, because you're right. There were times where we would see the real thing and then the virtual thing right afterwards. And I'm like, okay, I know what you want me to believe, but
it's not that. Yeah.
I'm doing most of the heavy lifting on this to get to where you want me to get. I'm suspending my disbelief quite a bit to imagine that as a rotting person, not a tree person.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You know the texture. We've all seen the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask.
Exactly.
When he comes to life, the texture of the corpse looks like the texture on the actual wooden mask instead of like corpse skin or whatever. I couldn't separate that in my mind after
that weathered wood, but it's kind of a little bit polished too, so it's very pockmarked, but it's also shiny on the edges, and yeah. All right, so is that all of our uglies?
I believe so.
Yep.
All right, so that means that we have 3 questions and then a final question. So some might call that 4. But the first question is, if this movie had a popcorn bucket, what would it be?
I mean, there's easy answers, right? A pyramid.
I was thinking a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
That's the real answer, is a sarcophagus.
I think the airplane.
The airplane, like a little box airplane?
Yeah.
That would be fun. That'd be fun.
I like the idea of the sarcophagus, that there is a little sculpture of the rotten mummy. Like when you get down and eat enough popcorn, there's some
rotting flesh in there for you to play with.
Well, no, Kelley, not an actual.
Wait.
It's built in as part of the box.
It's like plastic, Kelley.
Wait, I have bad memories of reaching into popcorn and finding rotting flesh underneath.
Oh no!
Again, dirty.
No, anyways. So
why do you do this?
If we played this entire movie with the entire cast replaced by Muppets, but one person remained a human, who would be the human? Who would be the human?
I have 3 answers for this, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, there's the obvious Brendan Fraser.
Yes, that's the first most obvious one. That's the most entertaining
him getting
one.
so exasperated and getting so annoyed by everybody around him, and him being so ballsy, it all makes sense, grabbing Miss Piggy.
And kissing her, yeah.
Yeah. I can even hear the...
Absolutely.
Gonzo is Benny.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%.
Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They even kind of have the same voice. Like,
and instead of the mercenaries, it's just a bunch of chickens, and some of them have like bandoliers of weapons and shit and mohawks.
The little fez hats and everything. Yeah. I can 100%.
The chicken with a cigarette hanging out of its mouth and the fez hanging to one side.
I can 100% see Gonzo going through all the necklaces of different religions.
Right?
It's a very Gonzo-like joke.
It is, very much so.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
I would say Benny. I would like to see Benny as a...
That's other. That's another one. Benny.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get to have Gonzo as him, but that is another one. Benny as the human.
Watching him get foiled by the Muppets at every turn would be a lot of fun. And then, the thing about ours also the big bad guy, like Vaslu being the only human.
That would be the third one.
He's just so angry all the time, and
yep. That's
watching humans get foiled by Muppets is always fun.
Also, I can't see him as a... Like, a lot of times I can see all the other characters as Muppets. I just can't see him as a Muppet.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, I can. Just a bald Muppet with flowing robes, flailing around like Kermit does and shit.
I think it's beautiful that all 3 of our hearts got the 3 right, because that is the 3. It's either Brendan Fraser or Benny or the Mummy. Yeah.
Right.
Good job, us.
We're great.
Yeah.
Or we know each other really well.
The last question, who was your MVP for this movie? Who was your standout, whether it was the sets, the music, a character, or an actor? Who was your MVP?
I want to hear Keith's first.
Oh, that's a tough question. Can I go a little abstract on this one?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say that my MVP of this was the horror elements, because when they showed up, they were pretty well done, and like I could tell that they were done in reverence and inspired by the great horror that came before it. And because
there were horror fans in the production, you can tell.
Exactly.
There's some love into
and
it.
because 2/3 of the movie, I was kind of like, I had that note in my bad column of it being like, The Mummy is supposed to be horror. That I was slightly disappointed. So not only when it did show up, was it good, but it's sort of like, it was kind of like a jolt to my system. Like, oh, okay, here we go. They're actually doing it. Which was able to pull me back in for real to have something to hang on to. So
you're saying that just when you thought you were out, they pulled you back in?
100%, yes.
I'm going to just go ahead and do the obvious, and Brendan Fraser, I haven't had much opportunity to review his movies for our pod or even in our movie night before pod started. And he's just a delight, and I like watching him on the screen. Like, I think my first real exposure to him was Encino Man.
Yep.
And
Same.
He was fun in that. I loved him. I loved that movie, mainly because of him. Pauly Shore was actually pretty funny too,
Yeah.
but
Sean Astin, that's a great movie.
yeah. Maybe we'll watch that at some point. That's one of those, and who knows how well it might translate very poorly to the year of our Lord 2020, whatever.
It probably
Brendan
does,
Fraser
but...
is mine, and then knowing that Brendan Fraser almost died doing the hanging scene,
crazy.
I think he deserves it on that alone. Like, that poor guy, he's been so. He deserves so much better than what Hollywood has done for him. I'm glad that he's getting recognition later in life, at least.
Absolutely.
What about you, Jamie?
I would say Brendan, but I'm going to go ahead since you already gave him that. I will go ahead and say Benny. Benny is a great.
I'm glad Benny gets his flowers. Good job.
Benny was well written, and the actor, I think, did really well with what he had. He kind of humanized him, but not enough. He rested right on that cusp of, if he redeemed himself, I would have taken him back in.
Exactly.
If he didn't, I am happy to see him die, kind of thing. And that's good training. Good acting.
It's a tough line to ride as a movie character where you're willing to do that. Because I feel 100% the same way. Like, if he has redemption, all right, come on, Benny, you rascal, come back to the fold. And if he doesn't, it's like, that's exactly what you get, Benny.
Yeah.
You fuck.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you that actor has an ego, and he has to suspend his ego to a certain degree to really envelop himself into this sleazy of a character or this unlikable of a character at times. So, like, anytime I see an actor going into an egoless position to support their art, I really appreciate that. And I think he did a good job with it.
Right. And we just had such a great example of how this character could be completely unlikable and completely ruin a movie in Red Sonja. No, I'm sorry, Conan 2. In Conan 2.
Yeah,
and
Conan
so,
the Destroyer.
Yeah, so seeing that played out in a character that you actually do enjoy watching and like in a way is really hard to do, and he deserves kudos for that. Also, apparently all the camels hated him, so the camels not going along with him is because they all hated him.
Well, now my opinion trying to kind of shift a little bit. If the camels don't like you, buddy, I don't know. What are you doing wrong? What are you doing with your life? Who knows? Might have been bad cologne or something.
Right.
All right. So now that we've answered our our 3 questions in the lead up, our main question when it comes to The Mummy, starring Rachel Weisz, Brendan Fraser, and Arnold Vosloo, is that was his first name?
Vosloo, yeah. Arnold Vosloo.
Yeah. Vosloo, I'm sorry. Did you enjoy the movie, and would you give it a thumbs up?
You really want to do this? Here. Now, yes. Okay, let's do it.
I will give it a thumbs up. It's a slightly soft thumbs up, but it's not bad. It just, again, I'm upset that I could see the potential for this having been great if they stuck the landing with really good effects around the cheese. That would be my perfect kind of movie. We've talked about Army of Darkness and Evil Dead a lot, and that's the movies that kind of do that, is they have the cheese and they also stick the to some degree, the effects.
Yeah.
At least it's a little more visceral and not as floaty. But yes, thumbs up. I'd never seen this before. I'm glad I finally got to watch it. I may watch it again if it was on. I don't know if I'd be like, hey man, you gotta watch this, but wasn't bad. Didn't offend me. Always happy to watch Brendan Fraser. He's just sort of infinitely enjoyable. I don't know what it is about him. Thumbs up from me. What about you, Kelley?
Yeah, definitely a thumbs up. I had a really good time with this movie. This isn't a tentative thumbs up by any means. This resides in the same place as Army of Darkness, which is my favorite of the Evil Dead franchise.
My heart. Palpitations.
I love it for the same reasons. Like I said, I got to see necromancy. I got to see skeleton armies. This time I got to see a variation on those skeleton armies. I absolutely would watch this again. I would put it on in the background. I would actively watch it again because I had a really good time enjoying it. Even the bad parts, I would do the dad joke groan at it. If this were like the chart that we use, the SATB, the SABCF or whatever, this firmly resides in the A category for me. Like, this isn't the most amazing movie I've seen in recent memory. Like, it doesn't compare against like the finest in Lord of the Rings or anything, but it's definitely better than most of the movies that are out there. And I think the love for it's one of those where you had a lot of people pulling in really good effort, from the music to the sets to the acting to the script most of the time. I think it was really well done. And you're right that the CGI does pull it back, but overall I'm able to look past that because it's just the camp doesn't make me take it too seriously.
Since you pulled it into the scale, I would say firmly for me it's a B movie through and through. Even what you think about when you hear the term B movie, kind of what this is. It's kind of what it was going for, almost, if you think
with
about
heavy
it,
production values, with great cameras, great lighting all the time. Yeah. What about you, Jamie?
I think that I'm obviously going to give this a thumbs up. I love this movie.
Perfect.
I do watch it fairly often. Anytime it's on TV and there's nothing better on it, it will definitely sit on my TV, and I will do things while I'm watching it because I know it pretty well. But I will quote it from time to time. You'll hear me say, "Looks like you're on the wrong side of the river." I just enjoy this movie. It's fun. It's not anything deep or life-changing. It's just good fun. And it's got a beautiful cast to look at while you're having fun. So
this is the kind of action movie I can get behind. And that maybe is part of the negative for you, Keith, is that this isn't a horror movie. This is an action movie, an action comedy type movie with a little bit of horror elements at the end or in the last third or whatever. But yeah, it's fun. I would rather watch this than, a movie with a bunch of guns and shooting everybody and a compound in Russia or something. Like, I would rather watch this than the most recent Mission Impossible, for example. I mean, I haven't seen it, so maybe I'm judging poorly, but I have more interest in watching this than I would watching Mission Impossible.
I have more interest in watching this than I have in watching any Mission Impossible. And some of them were decent movies. They're not as much fun to me as this is.
Maybe I should pick that for my next series. We should watch all the Mission Impossible movies.
So much Tom Cruise. Oof.
All right, so those were our thoughts, not yours. We gave it a perfect 3 thumbs up. So apparently we really enjoyed The Mummy. But next up, we get to challenge that with The Mummy 2. Is it just called Mummy
Returns.
2? Or
The Mummy
The
Returns.
Mummy Returns. Okay, so Arnold Vosloo returns, and we get more of him and Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, right?
Yes, we do.
Hey, all right. I was hoping that I wasn't setting us up
and
for failure.
Patricia Velasquez.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whoever that is, yeah.
She Anatsuno Moon.
Oh, right. I mean, did she even have spoken words? I mean, she might have had like
2,
4 or 5.
No, she really just kind of prances around and looks really good doing it.
Yeah.
In very little
she's
clothing.
Beautiful,
yeah.
But I mean, it takes a little bit more to catch my attention than just a wordless, beautiful woman on a screen. That's we live in the age of information. That stuff happens even when I'm not looking for it.
I believe she does a lot more in the next one, if I'm remembering it correctly.
Well, I look forward to seeing how well she does with it. I'm interested to see where the story goes from here. I've heard that there's a little bit of a drop off, but I'm trying to keep an open mind and not let preconceptions ruin it for me if it's good. So
it's not a cliff, but it's definitely a hill that we're going down, and then we get to a cliff eventually. There's a cliff that's coming.
It's not a cliff, but it's definitely a hill. We're going down either way. Just manage your expectations. Yeah. It's gonna get fucking worse. So get ready. Buckle up, buckaroo.
There is a cliff coming. There is a definite cliff coming.
Well, we enjoyed watching this. As always, I enjoyed talking with the two of you. I enjoyed sharing our thoughts with everybody else. Catch us next week as we jump into The Mummy 2.
The Mummy Returns.
Oh, right. Sorry, The Mummy Returns.
The murmur returns. Are you drunk?
The murmur.
Sir, would you please be sober when we record these? That's all I ask.
It's very difficult for me, to talk about all of this, all these CGI effects and sexism. I have to numb the passing a little bit. But anyways, for Screen Share and Chill, I'm Kelley.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Jamie.
See you later.
Bye.
Don't uncover any weird artifacts. Don't try to raid any tombs.
If you see scarabs, don't let them on you.
Certainly don't drink the juice that you find in the sarcophagus.
Oh, God, no.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore. And nor can any of you. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me.
Boom, boom, boom.